dessert, which was really fun. I was able to collaborate with Daniela on. I didn't even realize it's actually vegan as well, which is really cool just because it can help cater to a larger group of people. It makes it also more palatable for more different groups and demographics. Ingredients, super simple. With this one, kind of like Shima and Jeremy saw earlier, the measurements, you can play around with them a lot. In the recipes you guys have, we have specific measurements for the one yield size, but you can kind of play around with it based off of the flavors you're looking for, based on the size as well. So what we have here, we have some rolled oats that we have here. Got that here. We have brown sugar, and then we have a little mix of cinnamon and nutmeg. And then we have half a lemon, we're just going to use for juice. And then we have our apples. For the apples, you can kind of play around again with whatever apple you have available. If you go with a green apple, like a Granny Smith, you're going to get a bit more of that tartness. They're more popularized as like a baking apple, so it works really well with this. We have Honey Crisps today.
From Canada.
From Canada.
Also my favorite.
Yeah, so kind of play around with whatever works. So we're going to kind of tackle two things at once. So to start, Shima, if you want to mix all of our seasonings into the bowl, and then Jeremy will pass you a spoon. For the apples, I like to keep the skins on. It makes it a little bit, again, like I said, with like the mouthfeel, you get a bit more fiber from the apple as well. If you'd like to peel it, you can. It's just an extra step. The main focus is just trying to keep this very quick, very simple, very easy. Do you have any tips and stuff?
Sure, yeah, actually, we were talking about apples and oats and cancer risk reduction guidelines. So fiber, increasing our fiber in the diet is something else for us to consider. And for women, we want to try to get to about 25 grams of fiber per day, men 38. So using the apples and the oats together, both are going to up the fiber in this dish and get us closer to meeting our needs. Yeah.
Awesome. So you can see here, Shima's just mixing everything together. In terms of mixing it, you just want to incorporate it as much as possible. The brown sugar, the cinnamon, the nutmeg. If anyone's familiar with any of the other baking spices, I know in class we used a lot of like the Chinese 5 spices or like garam masala.
What are the Chinese 5?
Yeah, I know garam masala, but
anise.
Yeah.
Anise, okay.
Probably have coriander.
Coriander, star anise.
Cardamom.
I
think a
is
little
cardamom a little bit of 5 spice?
I think there's a little bit.
Yeah, it is very heavy on the star anise, the Chinese 5 spice. Really, really nice. The garam masala, which you mentioned as well.
Yeah, that's not what we use.
Something we use a lot in our classes. It has a lot of those familiar baking spices. Not so heavy on the star anise, more cumin, cinnamon, cardamom, ginger. Just really, really nice sort of aromatic. We call them sort of warming spices. So not spice in terms of heat spice, but that sort of warmth. When you think of like cinnamon, when you make like an apple crumble or an apple pie, that cinnamon, that warmth it brings, very, very similar flavor profile.
Question for you, I suppose you're avoiding fats in this one.
Not yet.
Not entirely. There's a small, tiny little fat component just to kind of add to nutritional. It's more so for, again, with like the mouthfeel and bringing things together at the very, very end right before we bake it. So we will touch on that. It's a good point there. So with the apple, very simple. We just want to cut it in half. This one's got a nice little tough core. There we go. And when we cut this, typically, like I said, we keep the skin on. I like to do it in as little cuts as possible. So you'll kind of see as I cut it in half, cut it into quarters. The trick that I kind of like to use if you're not very comfortable with the knife, some people will kind of turn them vertical to cut the core. But if you want to make it a little bit easier for yourself, keep that claw method. You just come in on a little 45-degree angle. You can kind of get whatever residual core pieces are in there. And then when we're cutting this, the thickness will determine the cook time. So typically this will take about 15 minutes to 20 minutes to bake. If you cut them a little bit thicker, then it will take another extra 5 to 10 minutes. If you cut it extra thin, you can kind of speed it up the same way. So what I like to do is to keep it as flat as possible. I usually go about halfway, and then I'll give it a little turn, just because I know the flattest piece of my apple is at the bottom there. And then, fantastic.
Perfect.
Your attention, please. Jason Terrace, please return to Nuclear Medicine, first floor, Tinley. Jason Terrace, please return to
Speak over quickly.
Nuclear
Yeah.
Medicine, first
To
floor,
mention, again, to reiterate what Kobe just said, the flattest part
Please
of
return
your
to
apple
nuclear
is
medicine,
facing down.
first
Okay?
floor, Eaton Wing.
I think we're good.
There we
Okay,
go.
we're good.
Okay. So the flattest part, and that's a good rule of thumb for anytime you're cutting your vegetables, your fruits, is have the flattest part down so that it is not rolling around on you.
Yes.
Especially if you're not super comfortable with your knife.
Yeah, so same thing, I'll cut, I'll turn it around, keep that flattest part on the cutting board, and we just want to get as much as we can out of it.
I like that you're keeping the skins on because that's giving us a little bit more fiber.
Yes. And then, so we're just going to take these, and with the apples, the only thing we're just adding to them very briefly is that lemon juice. And so the lemon is going to help do two things. It's going to help amplify the natural sweetness of the apples, but also it's going to help with the oxidization. So as you're cooking, I'm fortunate enough that I have a little team up here. As you're working, if you're by yourself, you'll notice that apples, happens with potatoes as well, they start to brown as they oxidize. So the lemon juice is going to kind of help prevent that from happening. Just as Daniela mentioned too, part of eating is you want the food to look good or look appealing. And I know when things start to brown, it's usually not as appealing to other people. So we kind of do the same thing here. And we just want to add a little bit of lemon juice.
And I see this technique, and I'm going to start doing it too, where you actually put your hand underneath the lemon
Yes.
to grab the seeds. But again, also my hands aren't as strong, so the other way you can also use like a fork,
Yeah.
is it? To kind of
Yes,
loosen
fork.
it up a little bit,
Yeah.
and then.
Or if you
squeeze
have one of the actual juicers, you have that as well. So we're just,
Citrus press
Yeah.
there, yeah.
so we're just going to lightly mix these up, just so they're all kind of a little bit coated in the lemon juice.
It also smells nice and fresh now. I don't know if you can smell the lemon yet over there.
And then the last thing we're going to do is assemble it all together. Jeremy is a big fan and a big user of parchment paper.
Yes.
Maybe
Yes. Maybe a little too much.
a little too much.
Well, yeah.
So for this dish, to make it a little bit easier, we're going to line a pan with some parchment. In regards to preparing this, if you have like a cake pan, like a bread loaf pan, kind of whatever you have at home in terms of size works completely fine, because we're just going to kind of layer the apples as flat as possible. It's okay if you kind of layer it up as well. We're just going to make it a nice thicker little crumble. So with the parchment paper, the one trick that Jeremy showed us is to get it to be more malleable and more softer to use it when you're doing with like a dish. We're using a pan today that's rounded. You're going to want to crumple it up, and you're also going to want to put it under running water for a little bit.
So what I love about this recipe is Kobe's just using a pan. You can use a baking dish, you can use like a proper like pie pan, tart pan, but anything that is oven safe will work for this. And that little technique, so like running it, crumpling it up under water, and then, yeah, I love this. So it can tuck in much easier versus if you had just a flat sheet of parchment. This is really to save you from having to clean up
The pan
the
afterwards. Yeah.
after.
I've been using this technique a lot.
Yes. Yeah, it's one of our favorites. Maybe a little reason why I love parchment so much.
Yeah.
Not so much on the cleanup.
Yeah, and then the last couple steps here. So we have our parchment. Like I said, with the apples, you just want to kind of layer it. If you're more into baking, into that art style, you can kind of layer it and make it a pretty little design. But like I said, the goal here is you just want to kind of put them all around, lay them as flat as possible. I'm just going to angle the pan here for a second.
Here we go, we're getting
There
a
we go.
close-up shot.
So we got it like that. It's okay if there's some overlap. The main thing is you want to cover up as much of that surface area on the bottom of the parchment and pan.
So the cool thing about this as well is we have a power couple here. So those of you that have been in any of our classes with Jeremy, we have power couples with food. So oats actually have some iron in them. And the iron in plant foods we know isn't absorbed as easily by the body. But if you pair it with a food that has vitamin C in it, then you're going to absorb more of the iron from the oats. So the apple has vitamin C plus the lemon juice, so that's a wonderful pairing, power couple in this dish.
So we have that all kind of lined. like I mentioned earlier, just kind of spread it out as much as you can. And then the crumble that Shima made, we have everything mixed in. So we had one question earlier about the fat. So here Shima's adding in some olive oil. And you can sub this for any type of oil. If you have butter, we would just suggest melting it first. And then you can add it in as well. And what that's going to do is it's going to help bind all of the crumble together. So that way when we layer it, instead of it kind of falling apart, it's going to kind of start to melt and kind of hold together. So you get a nice crust on top of everything. So we see that here. And then you're just going to kind of want to mix it in, spread it generously. When it comes to pouring this out, the goal is just to cover the apples as much as possible.
Now, what I love, Danielle, you mentioned oats, great whole grain choice.
Great whole grain. Also, you can get, it's a gluten-free option, but when it comes to oats, you want to, it doesn't contain any gluten in it, but it can be contaminated from if it's grown somewhere close to other grains. So you can find gluten-free oats, and they're a great option as well.
And so you're getting that whole grain with this, but this is also so much easier than having to fuss with like a pie crust.
Yes.
Right?
True.
And the apples too, Kobe, I mean, you can sub that with a lot of fruits. Really.
Yeah, majority of fruit, same thing, you just cut it thin. When they are in season, peaches are another good option, high moisture content. The cook time will be reduced a little bit because they're not as fibrous, they're not as solid as an apple, but that's another thing you can use. So again, whatever fruit you want to sub for, you can do the same thing. And then as we kind of see here, just so the camera can see and everyone here can see, we have all the apples just fully covered. And then my favorite part of being here is our TV magic, because I'm going to throw this bad boy behind us.
So Shima and Kobe don't get TV magic at school, but here they do have the advantage of TV magic.
Perfect. And with the TV magic, we already had one baking away. And so just going to angle this here so everyone can see. So same thing, we had it completely covered. You can see some spots are where we had the oil, where it's a little bit darker and more clumped together. That's kind of what the oil was doing as it kind of melted, kind of formulated everything together. And so what I like about this is, like Jeremy mentioned, it's a lot simpler than a pie, having to fuss with a pie crust. And what's really cool about this, you can serve it in a bowl, serve it in a plate, and you kind of just portion size it out as you'd like. The apples, we'll get a little zoom in here. They did a great job with that lemon juice as well, breaking down and getting really nice and soft. So you kind of get a poached effect from the moisture that's evaporating, because the oats will help kind of trap it in.
Can you smell that?
And then for those of you who are here in person with us, we have a very lucky surprise. So our little crew here, we were working away. Whenever I have this at home, I'm so used to having it with ice cream. That's my kind of go thing, a la mode. And Jeremy, being the creative man that he is, decided, hey, we're going to have an ice cream book component. But we also work with a dietitian, so we thought, hey, let's just not add in a big heaping bowl of cream and sugar. So we actually made an apple cinnamon infused ice cream that is super simple. It was just soy milk, some apples that were soaked in lemon juice. For this, we did peel them, just so we didn't have the skins in it as well. You freeze the apples overnight, take them out. We just threw them in a blender. So you go apple chunks that have been peeled with some lemon juice, some soy milk, and we added a little bit of cinnamon, and we just blended it till we got the texture we were looking for. And that, so it doesn't slide off there. And that is our finished apple crumble a la mode with some apple ice cream.
Oh, go back. Okay, sorry.
Daniela likes
I
being the
stole the
director.
remote.
I know. I was going to ask that. Thank you, Kobe. Thank you, Shima. Incredible recipes. This is their last day of their externship, and they did an amazing job. So thank you again. Thank you for the recipe. Shima, what was the name of your recipe again? Because we're all
Zeytun parade.
Zeytun parade, which you're all going to get to try. So excited. And then from Kobe, we had the turkey
Tomato spinach pasta.
Turkey tomato spinach pasta, and this really nice spiced apple crumble. The recipes if you're here, you have the recipes, so you have a little advantage. If you're watching at home, the recipes will be posted online. Probably by tomorrow, you can check the website with links to the videos from today's class if you did want to watch it again. But again, thanks everyone for joining us here. Thanks everyone for joining us online. Thank you to Kobe. Thank you to Shima.
It's been amazing having the two students here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thanks again. Reminder, we are doing this every third Thursday of the month. Next class in May. The date escapes me, but you know what? You can just check out the YouTube channel.
Third Thursday of the month.
Third Thursday, always 12 to 1. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, which we really appreciate, it gives you, and click the notification bell, it lets you know anytime we have an upcoming class. So stay tuned. But otherwise, thanks everyone. Happy cooking. Thank you guys.
Thank you.